What's the theory on pulling one out though? Like people tell me that that's bad for your ears.
Yeah, and I've heard the same, but I don't know, even running crowd mics, and we've tried kind of every variation of crowd mics and having one pointed towards us, but just the feel, you know, when you're in a room and you want to feel the crowd singing back to you, or you want to feel, I want to feel Ryan's guitar coming from stage right. You can't feel that when you're so consolidated into your own head, in between what's in between your ears, you know, when you have those ears in, that I feel like just cracking one and not taking it all the way out, but just cracking it into where you can hear a little bit of what the ear is giving you, but you can also hear what's actually happening, you know. To me, it's just like the perfect mix.
But the crowd mics don't really do it for you.
The crowd mics just don't ever seem to.
God, it just seems like a whole other thing that you just have to mix.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and if you get too much crowd mic, it's like, man, that sounds like shit. If the room is, you know, real verby or real dry, you know, the opposite side of it, real dry, then you just get a weird sound, and I don't know.
Huh.
So I just like to crack it a little bit. And
I just find that the band in a small venue, I hate the idea of the band not playing to the room. Mm-hmm. Like I hate the idea that like a drummer and maybe a guitar player are just playing at a certain. I'm sorry if the room is small enough. Like drums are just freaking loud.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like they could just potentially ruin the mix of the room if you're just playing too loud, as opposed to like playing to the room, and you're just gonna have to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you're just on ears, I think you just get so isolated, and you just can't find that barrier. So like in smaller,
'cause your drums aren't getting any louder. Because your mix is what it is. It's not changing. It's not variable, you know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Huh. Well, so you just put out a record like a year ago now?
Yeah, I think.
Technically?
Yeah, December, I think, would have been a year.
Yeah.
This past December would have been a
year.
year.
You released like a bunch of singles off of it.
Mm-hmm. We think we did six singles off that record, and then we put the rest out in December, and we just kind of let it ride. We didn't put anything else out this past year. We tried to play, you know, for us, we played quite a few shows. I think we played 25 shows in 2025. So,
yeah,
all things considered,
you said,
based on.
Hold on, you said in 202025?
Or sorry, in 2024.
I was like, my guy has been getting after it. I need to
played
go to
3
work.
shows a day since the new year.
Strike while the iron's hot, dude.
Yeah, since in 2024, I think we played 25 shows. Or
okay,
maybe 30. But
yeah.
For us, that's a lot. We're not, you know, road dogs anymore. We're playing 250 dates a year.
Is that how hard you were going years ago?
Yeah, 2012.
It's like when did you actually put out your first record? 2012 or
late 2011?
Okay,
would have been the EP, which was called the Love Me Instead EP with Mine All Mine on it, and Love Me Instead, and I don't know. There's 2 other songs on there. I don't remember any of them.
The one you played drums on?
Yeah. There's a track on there. I played all the instruments because I didn't have a band. I was fresh out of high school, but I played drums, which I grew up playing drums. I played drums before I played guitar. And so on that track, I played drums and bass and acoustic and sang. And then I had a guy that came in and played lead. It's a terrible song, I think, but I played all the instruments, and I was 17 years old. So I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Ride.
And then there was like, so what was the movement, like, so you put out a record every year for how many years?
So that would have been late 2011 was the EP. 2012, I think late 2012 would have been the Dear Mom record. Glad I've got Aaron here to shake his head yes or no on the facts. But yeah, late 2012 would have been the Dear Mom record, the first like full band, full length record. And then 2013, we put out a record called How Did I Get Here? And then November 2014, we quit playing music. Just cold turkey. We had a, I don't know, a full like 4 or 5 month schedule set. You know, we had a lot of shows booked, and due to some different things within the genetic makeup of the band and extracurricular activities, I was just like, all right, no more.
So you at that point you were grinding pretty hard.
Yeah, that's, you know, back to what we were talking about being road dogs. We were playing. I mean, so 2011 we really didn't play any shows, but 12 and 13, yeah, like at least 200 dates a year. Both those years, probably more.
Were they good shows? What was the? Yeah,
they were all terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, we might have played like 5 good shows in
Yeah.
both of those years. Might have played a couple of good shows at the Blue Light in Lubbock, and we played one good show here in Decatur at Bono's.
Oh,
We
wow,
played a long time. I don't even think that place is still open.
No,
though.
they owe me $500.
Really? They
Yep.
probably owe me $500.
They stiffed
too.
me. Yep.
Man, I
My
wish they owed me
hometown, right?
$500.
It's my hometown. The one venue in my hometown owes
Yeah.
me money.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. That's the way it should be, right?
But yeah, we played one show there with Whiskey Myers, and yeah, it might have been it. We might have just played 3 good shows in 3 years, and the rest of them
I know
were
that
terrible.
feeling, dude.
It was a lot of stuff in the stockyards. Tuesday, I think we played Wednesday nights at the basement bar, which was down that flight of stairs, like literally in the basement. And those weren't bad shows. We'd put 20 people, 30 people in there on a Wednesday night, and drank for free and made $200. And the people that were there were there to hear us play, and that's the foundation. We built the foundation there, and then we kind of graduated to the Thirsty Armadillo down the road, and which was upstairs, wasn't in a basement anymore. People could actually just walk through the door and listen
At
to us play.
Thirsty's?
Yeah, it wasn't in a basement, was it? I think it was just right off the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, but you said it was upstairs?
No,
just because it wasn't in a basement.
It wasn't below the ground,
okay.
So it's kind of funny. But then the other venue that we played in the stockyards was called what? It was down the street even further, Whiskey Girl, and it was like up some stairs.
Well, and that one's been through like 4 or 5 different owners at this point.
For sure, and I think 4 or 5 different names along with it. But yeah, it's funny. We were basement bar, below the ground, then we graduated to street level at the Thirsty Armadillo, and then we graduated to walking up a flight of stairs into the Whiskey Girl. So
was it kind of, when you quit, was it kind of a moment of like, this just isn't working? Like,
I think it was working. I mean, it was just taking some time, which it should have. All good things do, It was a lot of things, man. We had, it was a lot of grind. It was too many shows, that's for sure, It was too much time spent with all those guys and not enough money being made, and, then emotions start to fly, and you put out a record and you're like, well, it's not doing what we thought it would do. I think a lot of it for me was that we put out that How Did I Get Here album. And at the time, I thought, man, this is the best thing we've ever done, by far. Way better than the EP, way better than the Dear Mom record. And it just kind of flopped, And there's still some great songs on it that we still play to this day. But it just didn't, it's just being young. I mean, still at the time, I think I would have been like 22 or 23, I guess. I don't know.
were you trying to go like the more, I guess, like traditional Texas country route with like radio promoters and things like that, or you were subverting that in ways?
Yeah.
Were you like focusing on, because that was still relatively early in the social media thing.
Way early.
So like what was, that would have been the transition phase of like the old way moving into like now. So like, cause my theory is there's not really built-in crowds anymore. People don't discover music like out at the local watering hole anymore.
Right,
Like you don't discover the new band.
Yeah.
Because
they're
you just
discovering it on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you were like, that was kind of a transition phase, because that was still kind of happening at that time. Like people would go out and try to discover music.
Yeah.
But also they were finding it online too.
I think it was before they were really even finding it online, because I can remember maybe 2014, the year that we quit playing, was you were able to post videos on Instagram, but they were only like 10 seconds long or 15 seconds long. So people weren't putting videos out, like we do weekly of us playing our songs and writing new songs and playing old songs. They weren't doing that. So that's how you're discovered on social media now. It's not from a picture really. But yeah, I think it was still, that's why in my brain I was like, let's just play as many shows as we can, because if we play 200 shows this year, and in those 200 shows, if we're in front of 2,000 people, then hopefully, 1,000 of those people will be fans, and then we just keep on building 1,000 people per year, and by the time we're 50, we're going to be famous.
You had to have struggled a little just based on your sound. Like it's inspiring to me, because I've always had a difficult time finding my place. Like it's like I don't really ever belong to really any one genre, and that's always been tough for me. And I'd see that with your stuff.
Yeah, because we don't fit the Texas country genre to a T. I mean, we do. There's some songs we play that are Texas country sounding songs, And then there's some songs we play that, lean more hard rock. And there's some songs that are like the first EP was strictly acoustic, it was real folky, rootsy type.
Yeah, and I guess the way you're saying, you're not out there freaking.
Yeah, I'm not shaking my ass and
Hey,
pointing
brother.
fingers. Yeah, no, we're not doing any of that.
I mean, maybe.
Depending on back in the day, how many whiskey
If you're
shots
going
we were having.
2 a.m. cigarettes in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
You might finger gun a little bit.
Cigs inside. Yeah, we were finger gunning after Cigs inside after 2
Dude, I
a.m.
think Cigs Inside is like an album title.
Mm-hmm. No, I actually find. I mean that phrase "Cigs inside after 2 a.m." I've tried to fit it in a song for a decade now.
Just you can't make it happen.
No, I finally did it this year.
Oh, you did?
And it's like to me, it's sick. Like
Cigs Inside at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I love it. I don't even care if anybody else likes it. I just love the song and because of that line being.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I love cigs.
Yeah.
And smoking them inside seems like quite the power move.
It's cooler, way cooler inside.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like been every bachelor party I've ever been on. Since you asked, I'll tell you this story. Every bachelor party I've ever been on, that's like my go-to.
Yeah.
Is like trying to smoke in places that I'm not allowed to smoke in.
Yeah.
And it's not the best.
It's like the old saying, like, Mama said, don't touch the stove. Every kid wants to touch the stove.
Dude.
It's just like, don't smoke inside. Like, why not? It seems so much more fun. Yeah, I'm gonna smoke inside.
Also, there's some nostalgia. You like watch old TV shows, and you're like, really? On an airplane?
Yeah, exactly.
The thing was just a tube full of smoke.
Yeah.
At 30,000 feet. I would have thrown up.
That's a nuclear bomb. Like, that's what that was.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. So like when y'all quit playing, what'd you go do?
I didn't know what I was going to do. I kind of went back to painting houses with my dad. That's what I grew up doing. My dad was a paint contractor and did that for maybe a month. And then one of my buddies that I grew up with was a hunting guide in the hill country. And I grew up hunting. That was like, I always tell people, before music, before girls, before booze, like that was the first thing I really loved was hunting. Shot my first deer when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and it was just ate up with it, So he said, "Hey, come down and get away." He's like, I know you're kind of going through a weird stage, so just come down and help out. And so I did, and didn't leave. That was in like Harper, Rock Springs area. Went down there. That would have been probably like December, maybe early January, right after we quit, and just never came back home. Ended up getting a job with him. And then, I did that. I guided hunts full time from, I guess, all of 15, all of 16, and all of 17. And then fast forward through all that, I think it was 18 when I came back and played that one show with Co. He asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to play an acoustic show with me in Stephenville on a Monday night or a Wednesday night?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't even know if I know how to play a guitar anymore." I didn't touch a guitar. All those years I was guiding hunts, strictly guiding hunts. I didn't touch a guitar. Didn't write, didn't play a guitar. It just didn't feel the same. It wasn't because I was mad at it. I was just like, didn't even think about it. Just didn't let my brain have time to even think about playing or writing. And so I did that, went and played that show, and it was a big sold out night there at the Twisted J in Stephenville. And
what year would that have been? 18?
18, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think July of 2018. And I'd met my wife then. She kind of pushed me to do it. I was like, "No, dude, I'm good." Co and Dre had both asked me, and I was just like, "No, I'm busy. I'm guiding access hunts during the summer. Like, we're just tied up." And my wife's like, "Why don't you just do it? It'd be fun." She had never seen me play. We didn't meet until 16 or 17. And so she knew that I played, and she had obviously heard the records we had then. But she's like, "I want to see you play, if anything."
Oh, wow.
And,
that's wild.
Yeah, so it was cool. So
Yeah.
she got to see me play for the first time that night, in front of, I don't know how many people were there, a shitload.
A lot. Yeah.
And it, I don't know if they were there to see me or not. They probably weren't, but it was cool to be in front of all those folks.
Yeah.
And so that kind of rekindled the fire, and then 19. The year after that, we played a full band show, I think.
No, because we
No?
did the Post in March of 2020. That was our first full band
Okay, so we went all a night team. I played some acoustic shows, yeah. I just went out by myself and played like 4 or 5 acoustic shows.
Well, because your
in
music
19.
had really started taking off at that point, right?
Well, yeah, and that was another thing. And that show that I did with Co, I hadn't even been paying attention to numbers, Spotify numbers or anything. There was some time in there, too, that I put out that EP, the Lone Wolf EP.
I think that was kind of what turned it.
Yeah, I had recorded this EP before we quit sometime in early 2014. And then I forgot about it. And Aaron, one day in
You asked me.
did I?
Yeah, you said, can you add these as bonus tracks?
Yeah, that's it. Sometime in like 2016 or so, I was like, hey, we should put that out. I forgot about it. And it had one song on it that I really dug. And I think it's 4 or 5 tracks. And so we put that out, and I didn't pay attention to numbers or anything. We've always been independent. There was no label pushing it or distribution deal or anything of the sort. And then so playing that show, and I said, I don't know if anybody was there to see me play that night with Co, but realistically, these people were damn near every one of them I looked at were singing my songs back to me. And there was times during that night I was just like, what is going on,
happening?
man? Because
Were you really that clueless?
Yeah, 100%.
Whoa.
Completely clueless. I was not, dude. I was off the grid, not paying attention to any sort of growth of music. I just wasn't
when
paying
you
attention
left
to it.
music, if we can call it that,
Yeah.
that was not happening at shows.
No. No.
And then you haven't played in, 3-4 years.
Yeah, it was about 4 years.
And then right when you come back, you
Yeah.
got like the thing that you were like wanting so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Then you stumble in, and now it's happening.
Yeah, and surreal is not even a good word. It was just like felt very confusing because that was a foreign. It was like walking, I don't know, walking out your front door and being in China and everybody speaking a different language. It's like, what the hell's going on? Like,
Yeah.
I did not know that these people all knew not just 1 or 2 songs, but like every song I played that night. So I started paying attention then, because that was like, okay, maybe we're onto something here.
How weird too. And so you said, were you married at that point?
No, I wasn't married.
Okay, but she had never really
Yeah.
seen you play.
Yeah, and I think
so
I
that's
think
the
that next day we drove to Ruidoso, New Mexico that next day to vacation. We had a vacation plan. And I think there were times on that drive where I was just like, what happened last night? What was that? Were you there? Did you see
Yeah.
the same thing that I saw? And
And she was like, was that normal? Is that the way it always was?
yeah, she was definitely saying that.
Why did you
And
leave? Why?
yeah.
What
Why
are
did
you
you quit
doing?
doing that? And I was trying to explain to her, like, listen, this is not, I don't know what happened in these 4 years of me being gone, but whatever it was, it's cool, And so, I don't know. It still took a few years to kind of comprehend that. And then I played those acoustic shows, and they were all great, kind of the same way. Everybody that showed up was there and knew every single word, and we finally had fans, people that knew the songs.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that in 12 and 13. We had fans, but I feel like they just came out to drink with us after the show.
Dude, it's really like I just don't know if that's ever existed in the music industry before,
Yeah, I don't either.
where you can disappear.
Right. Something that Will Green texted me several years ago, right when we came back and started playing, like maybe the first time we got on a bus. He was like, dude, what the hell? He's like, you're the only person I know that quit to go fishing and hunting and then
Yeah.
comes back to a bus.
It's
like,
bigger.
What the hell's going on?
And then these dudes
And
are,
I'm like, man,
okay,
I
so
don't
did
know.
you deal with any like resentment from some guys that had just been grinding while you were gone?
I don't think so. None that was brought to my attention.
Sure. Yeah, they wouldn't tell you.
I
even
mean,
if they
surely not, because we grinded with the best of them. I mean,
Yeah.
I know we quit and then came back to it, but this was no overnight success.
Yeah.
It still took time. There were still 6 years of 3 years of touring and then 3 years of not. Still a 6-year time span there of letting that music.
Yeah, and
soak
also
be
like when the
known.
moment happened, you were like, sure, you hadn't been like playing a bunch like
Yeah.
for a few years before that, but you had already put in a ton of work. So it's not like you just put out a couple songs and then blew up,
Right.
and then now you don't know. You got to figure out how to play in front of people. Like you'd already done it.
Yeah, and that was another weird thing for me. It didn't feel like a one-hit wonder type thing. I was like, well, this could be maybe not at the time a career, but I was like, this could be something that I do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, you had already cut records, led a band,
Yep.
traveled,
Yep.
dealt with all of the.
Yeah, we'd been through the trials and tribulations of of what I thought being a traveling musician was, and and then seeing that night, it was just like, man, how did this happen? And there was a lot of people. I was not the only person that felt that way, because I got texts and calls the next day, and then I look at Co after the show, and he's like, I told you. He's like, I told you. All these people wanted to see you play. I'm like, what the hell? How did you know? Who told you this? And Dre, the same thing. He was telling me the same thing, and I'm just like, well, thanks for inviting me out. Thanks for bringing this to my attention.
It's so cool, dude.
Yeah.
So what was the transition like? Are you still going through a transition of like, how do I lean into this? How hard do I lean into it? Because you'd kind of developed a whole other part of your life.
Yeah, which I still have. Even more so, I have that part of my life, because now I don't just work for an outfit. I own an outfit, and I've got people that work for me, and we hunt all over the world, and so that's up until 2024. That was like 75% of my life. It was 75, hunting, and 25 music and everything else. I would say 2024 was a good 50-50 split, with obviously family and having a wife and kid, all that mixed in there, and them doing both of those things with me, because when we're on the road playing music, they're with me. It's still just a learning curve of trying to find that good mix. And I plan on 2025 and forward leaning more towards the music, because I'm enjoying it that much now, playing music. It's not because of the money. It's not because of any sort of fame or anything like that. It's just like I'm loving playing music. I'm loving writing. I'm loving recording. Like, I've been begging to record, and we've already recorded 2 projects I guess, was that in January? Or December?
Yeah, it was late.
We recorded 2 projects in December, and yeah, I love recording music. I mean, I feel like that's part of what I was built to do. Like, it's just feels natural. I'm never stressed going to record. I've listened to interviews and read interviews and stuff about people being stressed out and or feeling, nervous or whatever, going into record. But to me, it's just like, man, these are the songs. Like, I just want to perform the best I can and do this song that I was able to write justice, to get it out there, because it's going to be out there for eternity. After when we leave this room, this is it. This is how it's going to sound.
Felt like the question, do you do music full time? You ever thought that was like a weird question?
Yeah. First off, do you do music is a weird question.
Very weird.
Yeah.
We could unpack that if you wanted to.
How do you do that?
Because I would love to do it, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're doing it. You want to see me do it? I'm doing it.
Just don't freaking. You looked me dead in the eye when you said that. I mean, dead in the eye.
We're doing it.
We're
man.
doing it.
Yeah. Now it's time to turn the lights down.
Yeah, that's right. No, I like them on.
Yeah. I like to see you. But yeah, that's a weird. When anybody asks that, how long you been doing music full time? And it's like, man, I don't know. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
That's part of it. For me, I'm like, shit, I have no idea. I don't even know what year it is right now.
You ever thought it was people that maybe don't create, don't understand the idea of like having a creative bug inside of you is more of just like your being is creative. Mm-hmm. It's not like something, now this year I am now going to do music. I'm going to be creative this year 100%.
Yeah.
It's like anybody that thinks like that, I don't think has ever created anything.
Yeah, probably not. 'Cause I don't just wake up and be like, I'm going to write a song today, a goal of mine for this year and like the last quarter of 2024 was to start writing with others, because I don't play well. I don't write well with others. I never have. Not that I wasn't capable of it, but I just never did it. I never even tried it.
You were a lone wolf,
And so,
dude.
yeah, well,
It's the indie thing. You did, yeah.
yeah, and I felt like the songs I was writing were straight from my experiences, so I didn't need to lean on anybody else to help me out or want anybody else. But it was kind of a goal, I guess, to exercise that bone, that muscle or whatever.
Because I'd be curious to ask if when you first started playing, did you start like with some buddies and you guys would jam together and play together? Or was it like a totally solo pursuit for you when you started playing?
It was a solo deal in the very beginning. My sister, I played drums. I said that earlier. I started playing drums when I was like 6. And then from 6 to 13, it was just drums. And my sister got a guitar, maybe for her birthday or Christmas or something. And of course, I went in there and was like twisting on the tuners and trying to mess it up,
Yeah.
And she was like, let me just teach you a few chords. And I'm like, no, I was, like I said, 12 or 13, I'm like, no, I don't want to. Well, she like forced me to learn a few chords on it. And then I think just pressing that guitar against my chest and playing those chords, something there just clicked. And I taught myself, 4 or 5 more chords where I could put, E, A, D, G, C, B, and that was kind of it for a long time. That's all I knew how to play. And started writing those first few songs, and it wasn't, I didn't try. It wasn't like, I didn't wake up and say, I'm going to write a song. It was just like I was sitting there picking, and it just kind of came out, I think that's why some of those songs are some of our most popular listened to songs, because they were just like, just so naive, just so, I don't know the best way to describe it, kind of just,
yeah,
anybody could listen to it and relate, just something easy to digest, I guess,
Yeah, it was honest.
Yeah, it was honest for sure, and it was coming from a place where there was no motive, it was just like, here, this is it, listen to it. Yeah. And at that time, I wasn't even trying to let anybody listen to it, so I wrote those couple of songs, like Mine All Mine and Love Me Instead, and then was at a buddy's house down the road, and we were all underage, and his parents would buy us, a couple cases of beer and turn us loose at the house, and just the rule was you couldn't leave, and so we'd all have a few beers and be tipsy as hell, and I would find a guitar, and I would end up playing guitar, and I would play like those 2 songs I had written, and maybe what was that one song? It was Blue Edmondson, Finger on the Trigger. I would play that song, and then there was one other. Those were like the 2 covers that I knew, and one of my buddies, or all of them maybe, they were like, you got to go do the ranch picking party, the little deal that the ranch used to put on at the railhead. They may still do it, I don't know. But 2011, the summer after I graduated, I went and did that, and I won that thing, and then played with open for Sean McConnell, which
that's a good one.
Yeah, had become just that first part of that year had like become my hero, and then next thing I know, I'm opening for him, and I wasn't direct support for him. It was like me playing my 3 songs, the only 3 songs I knew, and then Phil Hamilton, and that's where I met Phil, and then Sean played, later on, and then I still, from that night, like Josh Waishes is our tour manager now. He was Phil's tour manager that night. That's how I met him.
Okay.
And I met my very first booking agent that night. It's just like crazy how things kind of fall into place. But yeah, that was the beginning of it. And then there was a kid I graduated high school with. His older brother, which was like 25 at the time, reached out and said, hey, I heard you won the picking party. I play lead guitar. I'd love to start jamming. So I started jamming with him, and he was like my first real guitar player. And then we found Aaron, playing drums, and then found a bass player, and then the band came together, and we started playing at the basement bar, in the basement. So
was it moving into like trying to collaborate more, I guess, like on the songwriting side of that? When you started, though, like all the songwriting was just you. Like you didn't really have much collaboration in that regard.
No, not even in those days where I was, just kind of jamming with people. It was strictly, really every song I've ever written up until what we're going to put on this new record that we're going to record this year has just been me.
So now, have you done any co-writing like out in Nashville or anything like that?
No, never in Nashville, and don't plan on going to Nashville. But I've got a studio at my house. I invite guys there. Just like the last quarter of last year, like I write with Ryan Wilcox, my lead guitar player. I write with him a lot, which is great. It's great for us to both bounce ideas off of each other because we're so much alike in our writing styles, but yet so much different. And he comes from, his angle is always different, but it's just perfect. It's like right in line. So we've written probably 5-6 songs that are going to go on the new record. And then I've written with Tanner Usry this year, or last part of last year. We wrote a song that's going to go on the new record. Who else? Jordan Nix, which is a young cat. That's a really good writer.
Yeah, I know Jordan.
We wrote a song that's going to go on the new record.
I'm kind of finding, I've done a fair amount of writing in Nashville and of like a decent amount of co-writing and stuff. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is, and probably to like people that haven't done it before, they think of like, I think what's been lost in songwriting is maybe the musical component of it. Mm-hmm. And like even in like writing sessions, probably especially out in Nashville, it starts to become like if you just find a general chord progression and a general melody, then they just start packing words in there.
Yep.
Or you usually show up to the session with like some song idea.
Right.
Or lyrically. And that can be cool. Like if it works out, that can be really cool. But I start to find it a little like it just starts to get just boring and it all starts to sound the same because nobody's like focusing on like, oh, well, why don't we like try this progression? Why don't we jam on this for a little bit and then find something that sounds cool and then like really build a melody and then really build like a groove and then like write a song.
Yeah.
It starts to just become so like, well, that sounds nice. Oh, what about this lyric? That sounds catchy. And then you're like, well,
it's the exact opposite of what we were talking about earlier with like my songs back in the day, like in all of our songs back in the day, there was no motive.
Yeah.
Now with the songwriting sessions and stuff, there's 100% a motive.
Yeah.
You're not going into a damn songwriting cubicle or getting together with 8 guys to not write a number 1 single. You know, that's the point. You know, everybody get their publishing money and go about your merry on day. And
well, and like a lot of the classic, like a lot of the music I grew up listening to and the stuff that like it seems like people always go back to is a lot of like classic rock stuff and stuff from the 70s and the 80s. And the way a lot of that music was put together was guys like playing together.
Right.
Like you don't get a lot of those iconic rock songs by 3 songwriters getting in a room together and then just going, ooh, like drunk on the other side of I-35.
Yeah.
Like that sounds catchy.
Yeah.
Like no, it's not even that lyric's bad. It's just the idea that like, well, we got to have something to support it that is actually like unique.
Yeah.
And so it seems like there's a lot of really, what I've been focused on is like, there's a ton of really good musicians, especially like in our world down here in Texas, that I think are kind of untapped in like a songwriting way, because maybe they're not like great lyrically or something, and they might not be like, might not be able to sing at all.
Right.
But in my experience, you sit down with them and they're like, oh, no, what if you went to this instead?
Yeah.
And you're like, holy cow. And then as a songwriter, for me, I've had moments where it just like sends me down a totally different road melodically. And I'm like, oh, I would have never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And touching on kind of the Nashville thing, or you asked if I'd been to Nashville, and it's like, no, and I never have any intention on doing that. Like, it would have to be, you know, hey, do you want to go, you want to meet up with Stapleton? He wants to write with you. he you know, he's only going to do it in Nashville. It's like, okay, I guess I'll book a plane ticket to go do that, you know. But I just don't have any interest in going up there and doing that whole thing and, you know, dancing with that monkey. It's kind of one of my goals, along with collaborating and co-writing with people, is doing it not just at my home studio, but I built that place, put that building up and made it look the way that it looks for one reason, and it was like to make music in there. Yeah. And that's where me and the guys get together and rehearse. It's literally built for it, you know, and it's I think that's why why I wrote so much in 2024 and have already in 2025, is because I've got this spot now that just feels comfortable and it feels inviting, and there's songs in it that are just waiting to come out. You know, I kind of just look at it as like a big guitar, I heard a quote one time that was like, every song's built in if the guitar's built well, it's built with songs in it. You've got to discover them,
Oh,
And I
discover it.
Yeah,
Wow.
I thought that was
Yeah.
a cool kind of analogy, And that room, I just felt like as we built the building and as we did the inside and as we painted it and as we put up decorations, and it's like it seconds as a trophy room for me. So it's got mounts all in it. And then, it's got big, tall ceilings, so it's got mounts all up high.
Oh, yeah, it's got a whole vibe.
Yeah, but it's just me. It just encompasses everything that I love, So we get in there, and you were talking about like those old rock songs, how they wrote those songs as a band. So that's something like I've taken. I took one song in particular a few months ago to the guys. I pretty much had the song written, but I didn't have the structure all sorted out. And so I was like, hey, let's just kind of sort through the song and see where it goes. And like at the end of the hour, we had this song nailed down, and I was like, dude, this song is incredible. Like,
Did it kind
I love
of
it.
go a different way than you maybe had anticipated?
It definitely turned more into like a groove. It's a good groove song, and it's it's awesome. And that's the way it was. We got in that room, and the song was there. It was ready to be discovered, and we just all put our minds together and played our instruments the way we know how, and it came out, the way that it did. And there's something to be said about that, getting together with a bunch of folks that, I don't know, maybe you like them, maybe you don't, but they all play their instrument well,
Yeah.
and then you come up with a song from that. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah. It's interesting you use the word discover. I've said that to so many people, that creation doesn't feel as much like you're inventing something out of nothing. It feels more like they were already all there. All the options were there. It's just you discovered how to put them together. Feels like more like a puzzle.
Yeah, for sure. A puzzle, definitely. And it's hard. People ask me often, like, how do you songwrite? And I'm like, dude, I really don't know. It's just, it's cheesy to say, like, I was just born to do it, but that's the best way I can describe it. Like, I guess I was just made to write songs.
Are you how many, you got siblings?
Yeah, I've got one sister.
Older?
Yeah,
Oh, she was older.
Yep. Yep.
I kind of have a working theory on like more creative types.
Yeah.
That, because I'm the youngest of three.
Yeah.
And like I've just noticed more people that I meet typically are maybe the younger in their family.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a theory that like we got drug around a lot of places.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like, I don't know, go play in the corner.
Yep.
Go entertain yourself.
Yeah.
And you're kind of forced to just like look at the world around
Talk
you.
less, think more.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, it's a good way to look at it. I mean, I think I still live a lot of my life kind of like that. It's just like, you've got 2 ears and one mouth for a reason.
Well, hey.
And
dude, I got a podcast, so don't get me wrong. I'll bump some gums.
You
dude.
got to talk, but at the same time, it's like when you need to be listening, you're listening.
Yeah.
You're learning something.
Or observe, like take the time to like
be an observer,
slow down. Whether that's internally, like observe yourself
Yep.
and like how you respond to certain situations. Observe others. Comedy's that way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like it being funny, observational humor.
Yeah.
And that's some of the most powerful stuff. Songwriting feels like observation to me.
Mm-hmm.
Really solid observation.
Yeah.
Whether internally or externally.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the people I see like in the more corporate side of songwriting, if you're in Nashville or something, like how are you gonna ride a scooter to your to like your cubicle and then sit in a cubicle for 8 hours and then you're gonna write music about like the common working man? What are you talking about?
I don't know how they could do it, man. I really don't. There's no possible way.
But that goes back to the idea of doing music full time.
Mm-hmm.
Writing music full time.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you could go sit in a cubicle and technically be spending 8 hours a day working your 9 to 5 writing songs. Mm-hmm. That's great. You're doing it full time. But are you getting inspired at the level that you should be inspired? So, like, in my opinion, it would be better for somebody to go, like, no, go guide hunts for 3 years.
Right.
To me, that's going to lead to more inspiration than going to a cubicle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting away from it, whether you're going to guide hunts or going to play golf or whatever the hell you're going to do, hit the rodeo circuit. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but just getting away from it and then coming back into it with a different mindset. Couple more years under your belt, a couple more experiences under your belt, and just coming and stepping back into the same thing that you once did, but just with a different mindset. That's what it was for me, and it's there was a while there it was like, man, these songs, they can't come out fast enough because they were just, like you said, they were kind of there, and those pieces of that puzzle had built up and almost like placed themselves together. I just hadn't let them come out. And so it was like I'd come up with a chord progression, and well, here one comes, and here's another one. And it's a good problem to have, but it was just kind of like felt like word vomit for me. I was like, man, where is this coming from?
But did it feel like you didn't have an option? It was just happening.
Yeah, it was just happening.
Yeah,
Wasn't trying. I wasn't going to sit in the cubicle, or wasn't waking up, saying I'm going to write a song. It just was happening, And I think that's the best way to do it.
I would agree.
Works best for me.
Do you think you like, is there something in your life that you like to do the most? Like, what's your favorite thing to do?
Hunt and play music.
Are they both
Yeah, they're just neck and neck, man. And that's why I do them both. And you can ask my wife. I tell her all the time, sometimes multiple times a week, like I'm going to quit outfitting. It's a pain in my ass. A lot of times you're dealing with a lot of these wealthy landowners that, I don't own any of the land that we hunt on, but I lease almost 500,000 acres in the state of Texas, and then we lease stuff in Old Mexico, and we lease stuff in New Mexico, and so I've just got land everywhere and relationships everywhere, and so you've got to keep all these relationships. You got to tend to each fire. And
Alex Nestor Hunt Nest?
Oh yeah, in Colorado. Yeah. I don't know him well, but I know like Co hunts with him, and Mike Ryan hunts with him.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know him, but yeah. To answer your question, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep doing both of them for now, until I can't do both, and then it's
because the outfitting thing that starts to become more of a business.
Yeah,
as opposed to do you enjoy it? Just going and hunting? It's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And that's where it's at right now. It's like we've grown exponentially. We've been really fortunate to be on some TV shows and grow that way, and just get some guys in that are huge in the hunting community now. We have Black Rifle Coffee guys, guys with Mountain Ops, guys with Loophole, Sitka, like all these big brands, and they've passed the word on to their people in their circle, and it's grown way bigger than I wanted it to. I've got 4 full-time guys and 2 part-time guys, and it's just like, it's got to stop, or it doesn't, or it's got to just keep going and get huge. But I don't know if I want it to do that, and maybe I'm not the guy to segue it and keep it going. Maybe it needs to be passed on to somebody else. I don't know yet, but I'm thankful and grateful for it and where it's at, but it is becoming a job, and it has been a job. And there's a lot of times where I look back and I'm like, get off of a hunt and I'm out of service. I'm in the West Texas mountains for 3 or 4 days and get back into service and just want to talk to my wife, and I've got 50 emails to catch up on, and 50 calls and 20 texts, and it's like, man, and none of it's about music. It's all about hunts and guys coming on hunts next week and guys wanting to book hunts next year, and
how much do you think that there's been a cross-pollination with the music and that?
I've tried to keep it minimal.
Really? Why?
Yeah, just mainly to kind of weed out the awkwardness and the.
Do you mean you don't want maybe a fan?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that's what you're talking about, but that's
okay.
Yeah. I've just tried to keep them really separate, and if you follow me on any of my social media stuff, you're going to figure it out pretty easily.
Yeah, I guess that's more what I meant.
But I try not to
standpoint.
I'm not getting on my regular social media page and trying to sell hunts by any means.
Yeah.
Or we're promoting shows, but I'm not promoting shows and then saying, hey, come access hunt with me or come kill an elk with me. I was like, no, that's not what we're doing. That's not the goal. And there's been 2 times in the past 4 years of me owning Perennial that a fan has come on a hunt and I didn't know until they showed up. I booked them, we talked on the phone, everything seemed to be normal, and they showed up, and it was like I could tell right away this is going to be weird, because they were just awestruck. They got out of their truck, and I went to greet them like, hey, welcome to camp, and they were like, Kolton Moore. That's you.
Which I guess wouldn't be that big of a deal unless they were really.
Yeah, there was one of those 2 that it was just awkward the whole time. I mean, like probably the second or third sentence out of the guy's mouth was, "Did you bring your guitar?"
No. Okay.
And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I mean, I literally never bring my guitar to hunting camp. Never.
Yeah.
It's just, I just don't mix
That
those
is a
two
little
things.
bit tough to navigate.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
at the same time, you're appreciative.
Yep.
It's like, well, I'm glad you're
Yeah.
super into.
Yeah, it was a weird spot, and I mean, we dealt with it, and we killed a great buck, and all was
we dealt
was well.
with it. We killed him.
Killed him, threw him in the river, but I mean, it worked out. But yeah, I've just really tried to keep them separate because they're two separate things. I mean, they're totally different entities, you know. But yeah, it's going to cross pollinate a little bit more. I feel like moving forward. More than it has.
Yeah, because y'all got a lot going on.
Yeah, on both sides of things. But
are you done with your new record? Have y'all finished it?
We haven't even started it. But but we've got
it comes out next week.
Yeah, it comes out next week. I wish it was already done. But we've got some cool projects that are finished. We've got a project called Bare Bones, and I hope people like it. But if they don't, that's okay because I really like it. And everybody that's worked on it with me, you know, from the guys that have helped engineered it to the guys that have, you know, played instruments on it, everybody's been like, man, this is just a cool project. Who cares if anybody likes it? So that's kind of the mindset. I was just like, it's not for everybody. I think people that have followed us for a long time are going to enjoy it, but what
would be your reservation of why people might not like it?
Well, I'm not saying that they won't, but I'm just saying I really don't care if they do because I like it and I had a lot of fun doing it.
But you're confident in it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it to be rude by any means. I'm just I'll just tell you what the project is. So it was like the concept came from like the greatest hits records that we used to listen to. Like I always think about Alan Jackson's greatest hits, like my dad's 1993, you know, cherry red Ford F-150. We'd pop that cassette in and knew every word to every song. Like it was all heat. It was all badass, you know? And I thought that was a really cool concept. I haven't seen a greatest hits record put out in forever. Everybody was doing it in the 90s, I feel like, 80s and 90s. I mean, all the top dogs were, right? And so maybe earlier last year, I thought, man, that'd be cool to do. Just put out all of our top 10 or 12 songs, just put them on a record together. And my first idea was like, let's put them on a vinyl.
Yeah.
Let's just do a vinyl release of like Kolton Moore and the Clever few greatest hits. And then the more I thought about that, I was like, no, that's kind of dumb. Let's not do that. And then I was like, well, let's do it, but let's re-record those songs and just do them acoustic.
Okay.
Just me and the guitar. And then so that kind of morphed into Bare Bones. And so what Bare Bones is like our top 12 songs over the past decade, and we re-recorded them Bare Bones version. So some of them are just me and my guitar, some of them are me and my guitar and fiddle, some of them have upright bass, banjo, mandolin, harmonica, piano. They're all acoustic instruments, and they're just accompanying me in the lyrics, you know. And I think it's cool, man. It ended up feeling, I thought it was going to kind of get monotonous re-recording these songs, some of them that I've played for 10 years, but ultimately they felt like recording new songs because they took a totally different take. I mean, we recorded a couple of our like kind of rock and roll songs, Godman Blues, and it's bluegrassy as hell. It's
Very
really cool.
cool.
It's got upright
yeah.
bass on it, and it's got banjo on it, and it's just just a neat spin. So that's why I say it's like, I hope everybody loves it, but if they don't, I still had a hell of a good time making it and putting it together, and the whole process was just cool. I think for me it was just like having the thought, having the idea, and making it come to life, and then seeing what actually happened when we got into the studio and we added all these pieces and all this different instrumentation, and it's neat. So we've got that coming out. That'll be starting to be released here in the next month or so. And then I recorded at the same time in conjunction in the same studio, recorded a little 3-song acoustic EP. It was 3 songs that were never going to be on a record with the band. And so it's really, really stripped down, just me and my guitar. They're, slow, sad songs, kind of my specialty, I guess. And so we've got that, and then we've got the full-length record that we're going to start working on February the 22nd, I think. We just figured that out
Are
today.
you tracking all that stuff at your place?
All those 2 projects were at my house. Yeah.
What about the full record?
The full record, we're going to Memphis, and we're tracking that with Matt Ross Spang. He's going to engineer and produce it. If you don't know who Matt is, look him up. He's done
What's his last name?
Matt Ross Spang.
Okay.
Spang.
Yeah.
He worked on he was engineer for Stapleton's Traveler record. He was engineer for
Interesting.
Isbell's Southeastern record.
The Traveler was with Dave Cobb, right?
Yeah,
producing
it. But Matt was engineering it. He was behind the board.
Who's the freaking? Anyways, I didn't know that was a different engineer on the Traveler record.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. What?
Yeah. So he's worked on a lot really cool projects, and he's worked with some cool bands like St. Paul and the Broken Bones. He's very well versed in the music that I love to listen to. I don't really listen to Texas country music or country music. Really, I just don't. I like it, but you're not going to look on my playlist and see hardly any of it.
I'm pretty out there.
Yeah. I mean, I think most folks that are writing the kind of music that we fit in the genre, or most of them are not listening to that same type of music. I don't think. Maybe they are. Maybe it'd be a surprise.
Like what would be the top 3 people that pop in your head of like people that you're kind of jamming right now? Even just one. What's like one that comes to mind?
The one that comes to mind is Maggie Rogers.
Wow, very cool.
On my Spotify Wrapped this year, she was my top artist.
Maggie Rogers.
Is
that the Alaska gal?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking, because have you heard the Maggie Antone girl? She's pretty dope too.
No, I haven't.
You might need to check her out. But she's not quite like Maggie Rogers, but same name, but she's dope.
Yeah, but I listened to, in like 23 and 24, I listened to a lot of female artists. Before that, I almost resented listening to female artists for some reason. I didn't have any beef with them, but I just didn't like a female singer. Maybe I didn't like their perspective on songwriting, I guess. Yeah. In the past couple of years, I've really dug it, and my wife's like, "Man, all you listen to is girls anymore." I'm like, I don't know why.
We can bond over that, because I've found in recent history there's a lot of female songwriters that seem to be just like insanely honest in their songwriting.
Yeah,
like uncomfortably honest. Where I'm like, damn.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could.
Don't know if you could put yourself out there.
Holy
like that,
cow! Like it's ballsy, and that's what I'm starting to find big time. But and then there are also some of those girls, like for sure Maggie Rogers. She's not trying to do too much with her voice. In the same way, like I hear a lot of guys nowadays that it's like, dude, just because you can freaking growl and scream real loud doesn't mean you're a good singer.
Right.
But there's a lot of guys doing that. Like conversely, there's a lot of women that like sing and that's just like blowing me out. And it's like, I don't really want to listen to that. But like a Maggie Rogers, she's like very intricate and delicate with her melodies and stuff. It's nice to listen to, but then like lyrically, it's freaking incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what drew me to her, and the people that I've discovered from listening to her was just the she's a lyricist. I mean, I look at her as a lyricist versus a songwriter. It's just like, man, she's just a genius with it. I mean,
you ever heard of Sasha Sloan?
No, I haven't.
What about Nikki?
Nikki
Nikki
Lane.
Well, Nikki Lane is good, but there's girl Nikki that she has the same producer that Musgraves has used for like the last couple records.
Yeah, I have seen that. It's all caps. Nikki. Yeah.
And she's
I haven't listened to it.
I think she's Asian American or something. And she like really taps into like, I mean, I could be totally, she's Korean, Japanese, something like that. But just like lyrically, it's freaking, and then you hear it and you go, oh, okay. Yeah. That's where Casey got her idea for the last 2 records.
Huh.
The same producer.
Cool. Yeah.
But then lyrically, it's just freaking incredible. It's just like so freaking good. But she's like not doing anything that crazy with her voice.
Right.
Like just kind of stays in the same
just
little
letting
range
the songs
and just
speak
bops,
for themselves.
But they groove super hard. Really interesting production too. That's what I've gotten like more fascinated with. It's like, let's do some weird sounds.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to, like an acoustic guitar doesn't have to sound like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Run it through a bunch of crazy shit and see what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might inspire something.
Yeah. I went through that phase for sure. I think, and I still am there sometimes. I still want to hear those weird sounds. You can ask the guys. Like I've got a pedal on my pedal board called a Memory Man, and it'll make the craziest freaking sounds you ever heard. And sometimes I make some pretty crazy sounds, and it sounds cool, and sometimes it sounds like shit, you know. And just like, all right, well, let's dial that on back and never do that again.
Yeah.
But
so your next record is called Honky Tonk Country Through and Through.
Yeah.
Blue-blooded honky tonk country man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is what it's called.
So it's going to be right out of Memphis.
Right out of Memphis. Nashville honky tonk country blue-blooded man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Been writing in Nashville for the last 10 years.
Yeah. It's going to be the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a pretty witty comeback for it, but it's just going to be the exact opposite. You turn around and look the other way, that's what it's going to be from that. And
well, I'm excited to hear it. I'm excited to hear
I'm
all
stoked
of it.
to hear it. Shit, I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's such a
But yeah,
grind.
it's the one of my goals for the record is just to kind of get back to not the first EP, like not just completely acoustic and that infancy, but just get back to the root sound, you know, that we had. And it's funny that you mentioned, like, you know, having weird sounds and kind of experimenting a little bit, because there was a time with maybe that How Did I Get Here album that I was gung-ho on that, too gung-ho on it,
Sure.
like trying to make every instrument not sound like what it really was, you know. And I think every single artist goes through that, and some it sticks and it works, and a lot of them it's not good, and so they have that record or they have that time frame that, like, what the hell were those guys doing, you know?
Yeah.
I think we had that. I think I had that. But yeah, lately the writing that I've been doing has just yielded back to where it all started. And that's what I'm most excited for, because I want there to be drums and guitar and bass and piano, and that's it.
But I think
we
it
don't
seems
need
like sometimes that exploration, like once you get back to distilling it down and getting it more simplistic in terms of maybe the production and stuff, some of that exploration will trickle over where maybe it's just a little bit more guided, where it's like maybe instead of everything on the track, it's just jam-packed full of all this really cool stuff, but it's just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? There's too much happening.
Yeah.
And then the mix is just, you know, you get, I don't know, man. It's just like you just get too much stuff into a mix. And I'm really guilty of it, like, because I just am notorious for like, oh, there's this little melody, and then we can do this, but that needs to be on there. And then it's like you get a mix, it's just jam-packed full of stuff, and it's just, they can't get it as loud.
Yeah.
You know, it just starts getting weird. And so, but in that exploration, it's like once you can get back to simplicity, there's some of those little trinkets that you can take, and then you know, at least that's kind of the way it is with me. But I'm a few years behind you, so I think I had just kind of been going through the throes of like all the bells and whistles, and I'm just like a little like, oh my gosh, look at all these things I can play with.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now let's get back to like the basics, I guess.
Yeah. Man, music's cool because you can. It's kind of the same concept of like what we were talking about, what I did with music, stepping away from it and exploring everything else that life was throwing my way and everything else I was called to do in life, and then coming back to it. It's kind of the same way with like being exploratory in your musical journey. Is like going and exploring different sounds and you know, maybe making a different type of music, maybe not making a country record, making a rock and roll record. Our self-titled album that we put out last year was the goal for it. It was like, let's make a rock and roll record, like raw, big drum sounds, big nasty guitar tones. Let's do that, you know, and that's what we did. And I love that one. I think it's great, you know. Yeah. But we're gonna reel this one back, and it's gonna be, it's still gonna have our sound. It's not gonna sound any different, but it's gonna be like kind of back to the basics, I guess, you know.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah, man. Well, that's where we'll end it.
Cool.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It was good to finally meet you. Been a fan for a long time.
Thank you.
I've tried to book some hunts with you.
Yeah.
I didn't make it through the
Didn't make it through the vetting process.
The first question was how big of a fan you are. And I was like, I'm a huge fan. I really want to hunt with him.
And as soon as you hit that button, it sends it straight to the junk mail.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. Well, cool, man. Thanks. See y'all. Thanks for hanging.
Yeah.